And today we are about to make history.
This here is Plastoline, gasoline I made from plastic waste.
I believe that this process is necessary for anything to truly be zero waste and to reduce their emissions as well.
Every year, millions of tons of plastic waste flood into our environment, choking our oceans and poisoning our bodies. The problem is so huge, it feels hopeless. We're told plastic never really goes away. It just breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces, invading everything from the water we drink to our very blood. Scientists and governments have spent billions trying to fix it, but the plastic tide just keeps rising. So where did the answer come from? Not from a multi-billion-dollar lab or a team of elite engineers. It came from a backyard in Metro Atlanta, from a teenager who taught himself to weld and built a machine that could literally change the world. This is the incredible and cautionary story of Julian Brown, the young inventor behind a world-changing machine.
I have created Plastoline, a gasoline alternative made from plastic waste.
And the crushing pressure that comes when you try to solve a problem that some powerful people might not want solved. To really get what Julian accomplished, you have to understand the monster he was fighting.
All right, listen everybody, I can't go into too much detail, but there is some very, very odd stuff going on. I'm certainly under attack.
The plastic crisis isn't just about ugly litter or sad pictures of sea turtles. It's a deep flaw in the way we live. We churn out over 400 million tons of plastic every single year, and almost half of that is for single-use items, stuff we use for a few minutes and then toss. We're told to put our jugs and containers in the blue bin, thinking we're doing our part, but here's the hard truth. Most of it never actually gets recycled. We've been sold a story that doesn't add up. The economics just don't work. It's cheaper for companies to make brand new plastic from fossil fuels than to collect, sort, and reprocess the old stuff. So, where does it all go? A lot of it ends up in landfills, where it can sit for hundreds of years, slowly breaking down. The rest ends up in our oceans, where the sun and waves shred it into microplastics. These tiny particles are everywhere now. They've been found in the deepest oceans, the Arctic ice, and even in the placentas of newborn babies. We are literally eating and drinking our own trash. For years, the official story has been that this problem is just too big to solve. The best we can do is try to manage it, recycle a tiny fraction, and hope for the best while the planet slowly suffocates. The world was desperate for a real solution, but nobody expected it to come from a kid with a welding torch and a YouTube education. Julian Brown wasn't some prodigy from an Ivy League school or a Silicon Valley whiz kid backed by venture capital. He was, for all intents and purposes, a regular kid. Born in Tennessee and raised in Georgia, his story started with a simple promise he made to his mom when he was 5. I'm gonna change the world.
And today we are about to make history. Are you guys ready? I have brought with me Plastodiesel, a diesel alternative made from plastic waste that has just passed and has been scientifically proven to be cleaner than pump diesel. There we are! Yeah. Right here. It works!
It was one of those childhood dreams that, for him, never went away. His path to invention wasn't a straight line. It began with a hands-on skill. In high school, Julian took welding classes and got hooked on the power of fusing metal, of building something new from scrap. That skill would become the bedrock for everything. The real spark, though, came from a moment of frustration. During his senior year, a hand injury sidelined him. With nothing but time and a restless mind, he zeroed in on a problem that bugged him: the so-called recycling system. He later told a contributor for Forbes, "It made me so upset that even though we are told that we are recycling, plastic is clearly ending up in the oceans and landfills where it is affecting so many lives, including our own."
There's no value to plastic.
Right.
Once it's done being used. We don't care. We want to get rid of it.
Right.
But I knew plastic is made of petroleum, crude oil. Going back to the energy thing, energy can't be destroyed nor created. So I'm like, well, that's untapped potential energy right there.
This wasn't just a passing thought. It became an obsession. He dove into the internet, driven by one powerful question: if plastic is made from oil, why can't we turn it back into oil? His family, especially his mother, Nia Brown, watched with a mix of pride and worry. They were nervous about his experiments, which were about to involve extreme heat and flammable materials, but they saw his passion and couldn't ignore it. Julian wasn't just tinkering in the backyard, he was on a mission. The idea of turning plastic into fuel wasn't brand new. A process called pyrolysis, heating stuff without oxygen to break it down, had been around for decades, but it was always inefficient, energy-hungry, and expensive. Old-school pyrolysis used external flames to heat a chamber, which took forever and often used more energy than it created. It just wasn't a practical solution. This is where Julian's outsider perspective changed everything. He wasn't a chemical engineer stuck in old ways of thinking. He was a problem solver. He saw the biggest flaw in the process, heating the plastic from the outside. His breakthrough idea was as simple as it was genius. What if you could heat the plastic from the inside out? The answer was sitting in almost every kitchen in America: microwaves. Julian realized that using microwave radiation could heat the plastic polymers directly and evenly, forcing them to break down way faster and with much less energy. It was a brilliant leap in logic, connecting a common household appliance to a massive global crisis. He wasn't just tweaking an old idea, he was reinventing it from the ground up. That was his eureka moment. The vision was clear: a self-contained, solar-powered machine that could take worthless plastic trash and turn it into a valuable liquid fuel. He'd call the fuel Plastoline, and the machine would become his life's work. With that idea and his welding skills, he headed to the backyard and started building. Going from a brilliant idea to a working machine is a messy business. For Julian Brown, it was a journey of scrap metal, constant failures, and literal explosions. His first lab was a carport on a gravel driveway, and his instruction manuals were YouTube videos. This was innovation in its purest, grittiest form. He started with the microwave pyrolysis reactor Mark I. It was crude and it leaked, but it worked just enough to prove the concept. So he built the Mark II, reinforcing the seals. The Mark III had design flaws, but taught him critical lessons. Each failure wasn't a loss, it was a data point. This was seriously dangerous work. He was dealing with intense heat and flammable liquids in a DIY setup. In May of 2024, it almost cost him his life. While refining a batch of Plastoline, his distiller, which he later admitted didn't have a proper pressure gauge, exploded.
Rubbed the skin off, but when I woke up, I felt it. I felt everything as soon as I woke up. It was like I never had any type of medicine.
The blast shot flaming fuel onto his feet, causing severe second-degree burns that required surgery. For most people, that would have been it. His terrified parents told him he had to find a safer place to work. So he moved his operation from their backyard to an isolated plot of land in Alabama, forcing him to drive 4 hours each way just to keep going. But Julian was completely unfazed. He learned from the explosion, rebuilt with better safety gear, and got right back to it. As he said in an interview, "I've already blown myself up. I learned from that, and I was right back at it." He shared his entire journey on social media as Nature Jab. His videos were raw and real, showing the grease, the mistakes, and the small victories. He wasn't some polished CEO. He was a kid in his backyard, building the future. And people were hooked. His audience blew up to over 1.8 million followers, all cheering for the underdog inventor. After years of relentless work, he finally perfected his design, a continuous microwave pyrolysis reactor he called the Shaftless Auger Microwave Pyrolysis Reactor, or SAMPR. Unlike his earlier models, this machine could be fed a constant stream of plastic, making it far more efficient. The process is beautiful in its simplicity. Unsorted, unwashed plastic waste goes in one end. A series of magnetrons, just like the ones in a microwave, blast the plastic with radiation. In the oxygen-free chamber, the plastic's long molecular chains break down into a synthetic crude oil. This vapor is then cooled and condensed into liquid fuel, Plastoline. The process converts about 85% of the plastic's mass into usable fuel. To make it fully sustainable, the whole machine was designed to run on solar panels, making the process potentially carbon neutral. But the big question was still there. Does the fuel actually work? Julian proved it himself. He powered up a classic truck and ran it on a batch of his homemade Plastoline. Then he sent a sample to a professional lab in Washington for independent testing. The results were stunning. The skeptical lab techs reported back, amazed. It appears this diesel burns cleaner than regular diesel.
I have brought with me Plastodiesel, a diesel alternative made from plastic waste that has just passed and has been scientifically proven to be cleaner than pump diesel. There we are! First ever right here!
He even made plans to test the fuel in a high-performance Dodge Scat Pack to prove its power. This was it. His backyard experiment wasn't a pipe dream anymore. It was a proven technology that could turn trash into treasure and revolutionize the energy industry. With a working machine and viral fame, the world began to notice. Julian wasn't just a TikToker anymore. He was a serious inventor. The biggest validation came in June 2024 when he was named a 776th Climate Fellow by Reddit co-founder Alexis Ohanian's foundation. The fellowship included a $100,000 grant, a massive step for an inventor who had been funding his work with a small business and a GoFundMe page. His mission statement was clear and bold. As long as I am around, there will be no such thing as plastic waste, only untapped energy. But as his profile soared, a shadow fell over his journey. In posts and interviews, Julian started talking about strange, unnerving events. He said he was under attack. In one video, he claimed a helicopter circled his remote Alabama workshop.
Look, spotlight right at me. I don't know what's going on. This is the third time this helicopter's been here. Look, it has a spotlight on it. There is a helicopter with a spotlight that keeps circling around me. It's so loud though, like I can't even go to sleep.
Right, so for those of you who have not seen my stories on Instagram, 2 nights ago I was sleeping in Alabama where I work with my reactor, and there was a helicopter that flew really low and had a spotlight at 10 o'clock at night. Flew over me, shined the spotlight right into my windshield, then flew away, came back, did it again, came back, did it again, came back and did it again. It came 5 times, and this helicopter was flying so low I could feel the blades in my body. And I was recording it and posting it to my story, right? Letting everybody know what was going on. I was ready to leave. If it had done it a 6th time, I would have been gone.
A place with no local police helicopter. He mentioned being falsely reported to the EPA. In an interview, he didn't mince words. Not everybody's happy with my work. He described a terrifying cyberattack where his phone's camera, microphone, and personal data were compromised through his iCloud, forcing him to lay low. The dream of changing the world was running into the reality of disrupting a multi-trillion-dollar energy industry. The question shifted from, does it work? To what happens when you threaten the fossil fuel economy? The fear and anxiety building around Julian Brown came to a head in July 2025. On July 9th, he posted a shaky, alarming video to Instagram from inside a car. Looking right at the camera, he said, "I can't go into too much detail, but there is some very, very odd stuff going on. I'm certainly under attack right now in many different ways." He urged his followers to keep their eyes open, adding that they should be on the lookout. The caption was even more chilling. "Something is happening. Keep me in your prayers, please. Screen record this. I don't know." And then he went dark. For weeks, nothing. The inventor who posted almost daily was gone. Panic erupted online. Hashtags demanding to know where he was went viral. His followers, who had been with him from the start, feared the worst, that he'd been silenced for getting too close to a dangerous truth. After weeks of public outcry, a small piece of information surfaced. On July 28th, his mother, Nia Brown, told the Daily Mail that Julian was safe, but added, "In the best interest of his security, I'm not able to provide any more information." A few days later, on August 3rd, Julian reappeared. He posted a video explaining that his phone and accounts had been hacked, causing his silence while he worked with Meta to get them back. He captioned it, "I'm back. The work for Earth and humanity continues like a heart that never skipped a beat." While his return was a relief, it didn't erase the fear. It only confirmed that the threats he spoke of were very, very real. Julian Brown's story is about more than just a machine. It's a new blueprint for innovation. It proves you don't need a fancy degree or a corporate lab to change the world. You need passion, toughness, and the audacity to refuse to believe a problem is unsolvable. From a kid learning to weld to a globally recognized inventor, Julian has lit a fire of hope in the fight against plastic pollution. He survived explosions, faced down powerful critics, and pushed through incredible personal risk for one single vision: to turn our most toxic waste into clean energy. His invention, Plastoline, is a phenomenal achievement. But his real legacy might be the inspiration he gives to millions of other young people who now know they have the power to take on the world's biggest problems right from their own backyards. Julian Brown set out to change the world, and one way or another, he already has. The only question now is, what's next?